again. Good morning, folks. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. I got YouTube up and running. Let me get my screen sharing popping here for Discord. All right, that looks better. Let's get our trade plans lined up. Like I said, Discord was just not cooperating, so I had to reboot with like 90 seconds left before 8:30. So sorry, I'm a little bit scrambling to get all this put together. That's not whatever, I don't care. Uber, that's not what we're looking at. We are looking at MSC, Adobe, and ASST. There we go. That all looks much better. We got our trade plan reviews set up here. Sorry, normally I've got these queued up and ready to go before these streams start, but like I said, had to do that last minute reboot, which is never great. You always wonder if it's going to be one of those that just takes forever. All right, let's see. Good morning, Navy Plum. For some reason, Chef G can't access the paid channels. For some reason it says trial ended for you, Chef G. I will reach out. I don't know how you would have gotten that role. If we see Chris pop in here this morning, he typically does roll in eventually. Speak of the devil. Chris, the man, good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. We were just talking about you. Our friend Chef G here in the mix. Looks like he's got some error with his rolls and he's on trial ended instead of some paid subscription plan, which I'm sure is what is actually happening. So anyway, no rush on that, brother. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good morning to you. Thanks for always being here and doing everything you do to keep this community running as smoothly as we can possibly keep it running. Let's get some more good mornings. What's up, Spenny? What's up, Not Your Average White Boy? Serge, New Trader, Navy Plum, of course. Cloco, our Cloco? That's a hard one to pronounce, I'm not gonna lie. And of course, our good friend Chris and Chef G. All right. Get a little bit of coffee in here. Let's get going. So, what are we looking at here on ES? We'll start with that. We've got some trade plan recaps to do. And of course, some new trade plans to work on today. Didn't mean to move that, sorry. Just trying to move Discord so I can also see the YouTube chat. What's up, Veritas? What's up, Ryan, aka the History Buff? Oh yeah, that's right. BA-F. Apple Mernon. Good morning, buddy. Analyze Target. I think it's setting up a reversal. Sure, Veritas. We'll try to take a look at Target this morning. That might be an interesting one to take a look at. All right, so let's rock and roll. Let's dig in. What are we seeing here on ES? Ooh, Riot. Yeah, that's another interesting one. So from an ES perspective, I know that we've talked about this fib extension target for a long time. I know we've probably talked about it several times since, now that we've seen it test that level just about perfectly. Again, a level we've had on watch, I think, since September. From one of the September highs. This is the 1.618 extension from that prior all-time high. Sure. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Chris and Spenny. So we got a pullback off that level. No surprises there, but it did pull back right into our key area of buying pressure here on NTS. But not only did we have that, we had the 200 SMA riding up here on the 4-hour chart. Moving averages still strongly bullish, still pointing to the upside. So not surprised that when we see some of these more dramatic extensions, or a little bit of an overextension to the upside, that we don't get some kind of a pullback to those moving averages before we continue higher and try to push over that 69.51 level potentially. Right now, as far as levels I'd keep on watch, probably this double top right here. which also, and I know this is going to sound a little bit weird, but this is just kind of how support and resistance works in general. And so it's the same with NTS, which is essentially just charting out levels of support and resistance using a bunch of calculations and Fibonacci numbers and stuff like that. So when we're in these flags on NTS, just because it's a bullish flag doesn't mean every level's easy to push right over. So we saw a little bit of a rejection there. I think if we can get over that, so call it 68.59, I don't see anything stopping us from taking another shot at those current all-time highs here on ES up to 69.51. And then over that, if we can crack 69.51, we're looking for 70.44. I wouldn't get too greedy. I would start to scale out a lot of long positions and look for the next pullback to buy the dip and keep riding things until something breaks somewhere, right? Just play the market that we've got. You can't make it do what you believe it should do. So always keep that in mind. All right, so let's get to some trade plan recaps here. We've got ASST trying to make a push here, pre-market, getting over 150. That was a big resistance, or yeah, 158. It seemed like most of the rejections were happening around 150 as I was watching this a little bit yesterday. Did give us a little bit of pullback, very similar confluence, totally different time frame to what we saw just a moment ago. Pulling back to that 200 SMA buy pressure here on NTS combination, pushed it up, and now it's sitting at 163 and trying to push here pre-market. Like I said, kind of had flattened out there for a little bit, but now it's moving. Our first target on this is still sitting at 181. So if you're following this plan, patience in all things, right? And hopefully, if you're picking up shares on this one, time is not really a factor. We can wait this one out until it gives us those targets that we're looking for or stops us out for some reason. I certainly wouldn't begrudge anybody from setting their stops at 139 at this point. There's a nice confluence down there here on these smaller time frames as well, with the 333 sitting right there with that support resistance level. I don't know why my mouse has been so, just goes nuts every once in a while when I'm in trading view. I gotta look into that, get that sorted out. Anyway, ASST again continuing to push. Maybe we'll see PT1 today. It certainly looks like it wants to go for it, so keep an eye on it. Hopefully you're riding shares off that 139 level. Got a nice break above, back test, and we've just continued to push higher and continued to bounce off that level. So like I said, 139 may not be a bad level to go ahead and set your stop losses at. Taking a look at it here on the hourly as well, it's clearly broken above the 333 here. We've got the 200 curling up, getting ready to cross above the 333 as well. That's a nice bullish crossover on those SMAs. Well, my mouse has got it's a very fancy Logitech mouse. It's just kind of been acting goofy, but I've got it plugged in now, so let's see if you're right. Thanks, new trader. Appreciate the expert IT advice. You could be right, actually. It is moving a lot smoother now. I was getting ready to start digging into software, or is something eating memory, or is TradingView not leveraging my graphics card, or something like that. Sometimes the simplest things are the answer. Thank you. Appreciate the pro IT tip. All right, so ASST, we just talked about that. Adobe just sideways pretty much since we did our plan for it. Hasn't seen a break either way. We are giving this one a wide range to work itself out. So just be patient on this one. Keep these levels on watch. I have a feeling we will have probably gotten through a whole nother set of Tuesday live stream plans before this one sees a level break in either direction. With that being, and of course, when our alerts will expire on it as well. So if you're interested in continuing to track this Adobe plan, just make sure that you're dropping these levels on your own charts. Also, don't forget that you, if you're a paying Xtrades member, you do have, what am I trying to say here? I will set you up for access to this trade plan navigator, trading view indicator that you can use to essentially map out all these same price targets. You can set alerts, do all that kind of stuff. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, please feel free to DM me or DM Chris. We'll get you set up, no problem, free of charge, just for being a paying Xtrades member. But yeah, like I said, Adobe, I'm not sure if we're going to see this one play out in any direction before this plan essentially expires off of our watch list. AMSC, this one had earnings yesterday after hours. It had dipped to the put side of the plan. Gave us a little bit of a pump there yesterday, caught that 333 in the bearish flag here on the hourly chart, and then going into ER, it absolutely dumped, caught our PT3 as support. Ultimately here on that last candle of the extended hour session yesterday, it's trying to bounce from there, but still looking quite bearish. This one would have been very risky to swing the put contracts through earnings, so not sure how folks handled this one. I personally didn't take any action on it, but plan looks like it's ultimately played out to the downside. I do kind of question myself a little bit on it. Did come back, it did catch our trend line one more time there. Yeah, but I don't know, actually, probably this is probably a bust of a plan. Actually, that little fake out pump, if you weren't watching these SMAs, which I do talk about all the time, and maybe giving it a little bit more room to test 333 to see if it could break over that here on the hourly, I could certainly see where this would have stopped some people out if you did wind up getting into the put side of this plan. So sometimes them's the breaks in trading. Overall, I think it was a good plan. There was just a little bit of a fake out before the actual drop that we were expecting to take place once AMSC lost 56.99, call it 60 support. And then last but not least, IREN. This one's been an absolute beauty for us. We've played this one so many times and made so much money on it this year. It's probably becoming one of my new favorite tickers. Did give us a nice back test of that call entry there. Going into the extended hours session, as far as if you're picking this up with shares. Personally, I waited to see this downtrend snap. I just didn't like buying shares down that low with that trend right there overhead. Then we saw it gap up above that trend, gave us a nice few candles of a back test. Anytime you see this kind of a setup, right, you break above a trend, you get a few candles back testing. Sometimes it's only one, but sometimes it's a few. That's typically a really good go sign to catch that move to the upside. It has now come up and tapped our target. Let's see, what's the high of that candle? 78.85, 1 penny off our exact target PT3 to the upside here on IREN. So I hope you all were paying attention and watching this one. I even was calling it out in the chat yesterday, saying how bullish it looked. And then I really liked it for an upside move. It did try to make a run for PT3 yesterday, but ultimately time expired. We got it here pre-market. One thing I would say, they do have, God, I don't know what's going on with my throat. Let me get a little water as well. There we go. One thing I will say, and I mentioned this to some of the folks who got stuck in Uber going into their earnings report, even though Uber was essentially tapping all-time highs prior to that ER release. That is where you should be taking profits and not trying to swing stuff through earnings report, essentially turning a successful and well thought out trade into a gamble going into an earnings report. So anytime you see something tapping all-time highs, there could even be a fairly positive earnings report, and it can still pull back because those who have been in this for a while and because we were at all-time are in good profits, and even those who are kind of late to the game, it's essentially impossible to have any bag holders when you're at all-time highs. So there's really nothing preventing people from taking profits if they don't absolutely just are gobsmacked by the earnings report results. Exactly what we saw with Uber. It pulled back significantly on fairly good numbers, but it was right there testing all-time highs going into that earnings report. So again, no real shockers there. That Uber did have a pretty decent pullback despite having good numbers. So again, some of these things you can kind of see coming, but earnings reports are always a toss up. Don't forget, you also have to deal with IV crush, so you have to outpace the expected move when those earnings reports release. So essentially, it's kind of like what's the example I give? It's like playing roulette, except for instead of there being like 2 green squares on the wheel, there's probably about like 12. And you can only bet on red and black, right? You don't have the option to bet on those green squares. Well, you do, but that's a little bit more of a complex option strategy. You can't just buy calls and puts and land on a green square, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If that analogy makes sense, congratulations. All right. So let's get to some new ticker requests here. I think new traders, IT expertise has maybe done the trick. My mouse does seem to be functioning much better now that it's plugged in. So, what did we have? Good morning. We'll check for you now. Can we look at Meta? Yes, we can take a look at Meta. We'll also take a look at Riot and Target. I'll kind of set those as our top 3, and then we'll also try to take a look at either Apple or BAF for Ryan, aka the history buff. All right. Meta. Let's see. I wish I never Meta. Excuse my constant throat clearing this morning. I do not know why it's being such a challenge to get my voice working properly here this morning. All right, so Meta's had a pretty big pullback after that earnings report. Looks like it's caught some key support here off a daily level around 625. I want to kind of get some perspective on how strong that support is. Yeah, just below is actually pretty key support. So we'll keep an eye on that. I have a feeling this is going to be a key level when it comes to our plan. Also, while I'm back here, let's go ahead. Actually, I'm already at least seeing the downside set up. So let's go ahead and start locking that in. That would take us down. A little bit torn between 590.09 and 593.95. Anytime I'm feeling a little torn between two levels that are that close to each other, I'm always going to err on the side of caution and encouraging people to take profits early and often, not too early, but take profits when we're hitting potential resistances. If we're looking at these two, I don't want to see anybody get caught watching their profits get smoked because I shot one target too far and somebody was trying to hold to the absolute penny touches the price target. Really interesting level right here. It's not one that I have. I'm just trying to figure out if that level. Yeah, I'll come back. I'll take a look at this when I have more time. Wonder if that daily level's just been shifted a little bit, but for now I'm going to go ahead and mark that at 579.65. Third target. I have a feeling we're going to have a shared stop loss average down there at 619.40 probably. No, never mind. Sorry. That's definitely how I would handle that downside plan. Upside, where does that really start to look interesting? Get out of the way there. Hmm. Ah, okay. All right. So, sorry. Kind of got in my own head there for a minute, but I think I've got a pretty good idea. And these are kind of placeholder levels through here. I'm not really seeing a whole lot there, but I do see that it's a good stop loss average down. Should, if we get over that, take us. So this is going to be pretty close to like a dead on 1-to-1 risk reward setup. So keep that in mind. Generally speaking, I start those trades small. And if we see an opportunity, which we'll know here in a second, for a bigger move over PT1, that's when I average up on a trade. Just really debating. Let me check this one more time. Sorry. Just want to make sure we're picking accurate levels. Yeah, you know what? I am going to make this adjustment to about there. Also, I think that that does open up a pretty good window of opportunity. So this would be one great example of kind of like a start with like a half your usual position size and then scale. You can layer some in, maybe add a couple more contracts or whatever suits your risk management. If and when we do get a confirmed break over PT1 there, that would also get us over that NTS sell pressure more than likely. Yeah, and then it is kind of a smaller it's move to the upside. Like like really small actually, but I think it's a smart place to go ahead and take the rest of the profits there at 680. So kind of a weird layering of price targets there to the upside, but that's just what it looks like. No premium. Yeah, I don't. I've just got ASST shares personally. I think I've got like a few hundred. I don't think it's up over 1,000. I have at one point, because it's one I've been holding for a while, sold some covered calls against it. It wasn't a ton of money there, but Oops, that's not what I need. But it was there. All right, so let's get this locked in here. We are looking for a break over 646.25 to take us up to 657.97. There's kind of the bigger move up to 672 and ultimately 680.14. Stop loss average down. Put entry 609. Yes, this put entry is a little bit of a ways away, but I don't really see any strong windows of short opportunity with how far back meta golly has already pulled back. How far meta has already pulled back. There we go. Use your words. I would be very cautious chasing downside until another key level breaks. That looks good. Okay, let's get this locked in. Oops. I wanted to hide these. There we go. No, I typed a bad level there. That's not right. 635.10. That's what I screwed up. That looks good. Yep, right at a 1-to-1 risk reward there. Get this down here for now. Hide it. Okay. Looks good. So let's get this locked in. Here comes your meta live stream plan. Get that copied. There you go for YouTube. There you go for Discord. Let's get this in the elite chat. Let's get our message link. Boom. Boom. Let's get these alerts set. We will give this until close of business next Wednesday to give us a setup. And let me lock in the template. And we'll be ready for our next plan. All right, so what are we looking for here on Meta? Just one last recap, and then we will get to our next trade plan. We are looking for a break above 646.25. That should bring targets at 657.97, 672.52, and 680.14, with a stop loss average down at 635.10. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 609.33. That should bring price targets at 593.95, 579.65, and 567.12, with a stop loss average down at 619.40. Those are your Meta live stream plans. Let's go. All right, what do we have next? Riot, I think. And Veritas over there wants to take a look at Target. All right, let's do Riot, and then we'll do Target. I'll try to move as quickly as I can on these. Okay. It's definitely been a long time since I've looked at Riot. Ugh, I don't even like how I've got these levels set up. You know what? It's been so long. This one probably deserves a fresh look. but I will try to make it a quick trade plan here. Yeah, I think that's worth watching. Let's see if these highs show us anything interesting. Yeah, it's more right there. All right. Sorry if I got a little dead air there, radio silence. Just trying to lock in these levels. Yeah, there is something right about there. All right, that should have us in pretty good shape from a weekly perspective. Let's take a look at some of these daily levels. Oh shit, did not mean to do that. There we go. Oh, son of a gun, I did it again. Yeah, right about there. Okay, that looks fairly good. There is a level there, actually. All right, let's get to the 4 hour here. Looks like we may have a downtrend to consider here. Is trying to bounce off this weekly support though. Okay, let's see how that looks. Pretty good. I want to check this one level right here, and then I think we'll be good to lock in this plan. Thank you for your patience as I try to hammer those levels out as quickly as possible. Come on, give me some candlesticks, buddy. Yeah, yep, there is something hanging out right there. Well, while I'm here, let's also lock that in. Okay. I'm not seeing a discernible uptrend, but let's see. Looks like there may be a channel working here. Yeah, just like that. So, all right, that's all good to know. All right, let's take this to the hourly and throw my indicators on here. I think I'm ready to go. Again, thank you for your patience. You buying APLD or what? I don't know, bro. You tell me, are we? What's got you on APLD right now? I was riding those shares for a while. In fact, I think I just booked those for some profit the other day. Pretty decent profit. Definitely would be looking to play some downside if this weekly support does give way. Uh, yeah, I like that. Actually, I don't know. Nah, I wouldn't be. Nah, I'm gonna change that actually. Let's go. We might be shooting a little far there, but feel good about that 1644. Below that, yeah, I'd look at the next weekly support here at 1541 and then down to 1440. We kind of only caught the key levels doing the support and resistance anyway. Stop loss, average down. Yeah, this level needs to be just a little bit higher. Right about there. So, gonna give this one room to work. All right, so where does upside start to look real attractive? There's definitely a window of upside opportunity. It would also take us over this downtrend. Excuse me. If it can break over this 2074 level. Slight adjustment here to this 22.17 to give us our first price target to the upside. Then I think 23.02 and on to 24 even. Maybe adjust this down just a little bit. 23.95. Oops. Stop loss for that call side trade plan. Yeah, right about here. Come on, give me, what the hell? What the hell? Give me a horizontal line, bro. All right. Do it the old-fashioned way. So we're going to have some crisscrossing stop loss average down levels, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. So let's get this locked in. And on up to 23.95. Stop loss average down to 19.34. Downside gets real interesting below 18.43. Could take us down to 16.44, 15.41, and 14.40. Stop loss average down at 19.98. We'll just do this. There we go. Well, can't do that actually. I'll do it this way. Let's throw these back on. And okay, cool. Here comes your Riot live stream plan. And let me get this posted in the Elite chat. Let's get this plugged in here. Dude, I don't know what's going on with my keyboard shortcuts all of a sudden, but I'll figure that out later, I guess. Technical difficulties. Okay, that all looks good. I got my link. Yeah, I already got that. Let's save our template. And let's get our alerts in. All right, so let's talk through this one last time. What are we looking for here on Riot? We're looking for a break below 1843. That should bring downside targets at 1644, 1541, and 1440. With a stop loss average down at 1998. To the upside, we're looking for a break over 2074. That should bring targets at 2217, 2302, and 2395 with a stop loss average down at 1934. All right, let me take some quick looks at these other tickers that have been waiting. Probably not going to have time for a full... That's right, Gardle. So let me take a quick look at these other ones. We had Target, and I want to take a look at Apple. Or this BA-F. That's an interesting one. So, quick take on Target. Nice bull flag there yesterday. Got a real big pump there yesterday, actually. Took it back over the 333. It's catching that as support. But also worth noting is, well, let's zoom out a little bit before I go. Potentially having to stick my foot in my mouth. Whoops. Yeah, that's going to be out of the way. Come on, stick right there. Yeah, if anything, this is looking like possibly a break above and back test to that downtrend. Although it's not. It's a little bit shaky and quick. But let's zoom back in now. Let's get the indicators back on. What I would say here on Target, if it's holding the 333 SMA here on the hourly, really, I think it looks like it wants to make a push. Potential, not confirmed at all. Potential downtrend to watch right there. I guess you could also wait for better, cleaner confirmation if it breaks back above 93.26. I think that's kind of a clear go signal there. Over 93.26. What am I doing? There we go. Over 93.26. I think you can look for 95.87. Then on up to this daily at 99.65. Yeah, and then pretty clearly 101.40. That's a quick upside trade plan for you, Veritas. Hopefully that's helpful. I'll share this chart. Focused on these dash lines. As targets, this solid line being your entry. And of course, this heavy dotted line. So it's just a quick trade idea. Wouldn't even call it a fully developed trade plan, but good trade idea there. And let's take a quick look for Ryan. What is this BA-F? BAF. I was gonna say I don't think I've ever seen a symbol in Trading View. Could be. Nope. Are you sure that's the ticker? At least the kind of universal ticker, but in the meantime, let me take a quick look at Apple. I want to at least get something for you, Ryan, for showing up. Apple looks overall bullish as long as yeah, there's a level right here. As long as 267.05 is holding, I'd be looking for it to hold and continue to push higher, but I think we get pretty good confirmation of an upside move if it breaks over 271.43. So it looks like, what did you give me? BA-F. I think you're looking for BF, maybe dash A dot A. Well, we found your ticker. Very low volume. But at least I know where it is now. If you want to circle back to this again at some point, let me know. All right, let's get back to this Apple plan that I was starting to eyeball here. All good, no worries. So if Apple can get over 271.43, just some quick ideas here, and then of course we gotta look at all-time highs. I don't think I have. What are the next extension levels? Yeah, but those typically. Yeah, I would just look for that move to all-time highs. Don't get greedy. Looks like a pretty easy double top setup there. So this is just a quick take on Apple for you, Ryan. Yeah. Knowing that I gotta go get this spy plan put together with a quickness. All right. You're right, Chris. You're right. Here we go. There's your quick chart on Apple. All right, folks, like Chris said, I've got to rock and roll here. Let me go get this spy plan put together so I can get it out close to market open. I want to thank you all for taking some time to join me this morning. I appreciate it as always. We will be back next Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until then, as we always say here on Chart Talk Live, plan your trades, trade your plans, go out there, get some green, keep those wins big, keep your losses small. Remember, we're looking for profits, not perfection. So go out there, execute your plans, stick to your guns, trust your trades, and you'll be fine. All right, I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Spy plan coming at you here shortly. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining.